Good Sunday morning. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. I'm Kate Doherty with the Radical Ryan and the Practically Perfect Penny. And the lovely Laura is unable to join us today. However, do you know what today is?
I do.
Oh, I do too.
All right.
It's a lovely, wonderful day. And if I could sing, we would sing. But
Well, we are going to sing.
Yes, we are.
Going to sing.
I am
We're going to
sing.
sing. If you're listening to the show this morning, it is Elliot's 17th birthday.
317.
Happy birthday to you. Ba-da-ba-bum. Happy birthday to you. Ba-da-ba-bum. Happy birthday, dear Elliot. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
We're so happy you're turning 17. That's so exciting.
Yes, and I don't even want to hear because you know what's going to start? As soon as today hits and he takes one bite of that birthday cake, you know what's going to happen?
What?
Next year I'm going to be 18.
That's right.
Nice.
And so
Because-
it begins.
So if you're joining the show for the first time, this is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. And we are part of Down Country. Down Country uses Down syndrome as the voice for how every child learns. And today's show is going to be a whole lot of, if you already know this story, well, I don't know what to tell you. I guess buckle up and Merry Christmas, you're going to get it again.
That's right.
But every year on Elliot's birthday, I kind of reshare his birth story. But I told Ryan and Penny before the show started, you know, I do want to talk about that. But I also want to talk about the things I've learned over the last 17 years of parenting and raising a child with Down syndrome, because I actually think they're really important. And I feel like there's so many misconceptions out there that people have about people with Down syndrome, particularly. I think I'm going to focus on that today. You know, I mean, there are people who have other disabilities, they have other needs, they have other XYZ. However, in this case, you know, Elliot rocks an extra chromosome and it's his superpower. And I truly do mean that. So let's get started.
I think I did too. Preface. I think obviously Ryan and I know the story, and I'm looking forward to you sharing it again. But I think it just says so much about when he was born. You used it as a trampoline. That's my. I love the analogy. It's a trampoline to bounce off of and to go this way, versus it became something that was more like concrete that you just stuck, you know. And I think that that's all part of where you're going with this. So I look forward to hearing the story, because I think it's good to hear the story no matter how many times you've heard it, because it makes you think. You hear it differently each time.
Well, not only that, not to cut you off, but not only that, but I think it speaks to everyone that has gone through birth, that's gone through all of that, and the emotions and the roar of emotions that I'm sure go through, you know, all of us when that moment happens, however many emotions that is, or even quite frankly when, for my instance, like when you welcome a child into your home, like just the raw emotion that comes along with that, I think speaks to a multitude of all of us.
And my hope every year that I share his kind of birth story and the lessons learned or whatever, and I really have done this every year for the last now 17, is that maybe just one person can be helped. You know, that you know, we have sent it out in email format. It's been put on social media. And actually, this is the first time, though, we've done it on the radio show.
Right,
we have not, because it's just never landed where it was actually his birthday on the show, or not that it hasn't. I'm sure it had. We just weren't cognizant of it. And so I hope, because we do have the new video component of the show where people can pay attention. But Elliot, so if you're listening to the show today, my husband and I had tried to get pregnant for several years, and that did not happen easily for us. And so I actually had an appointment with a specialist to go see, you know, what was going on. And anyway, for some reason, I suddenly got very hungry, and I was very grouchy, and I was very tired. And I thought, maybe I should go get checked out. Well, lo and behold, there was an Elliot. And anyway, we did not opt. I know many families do, and this, I want to be clear, my decisions in this story, these are our decisions in our story. we did not for any of the prenatal testing or examination. Like, we just did not wish for any of that. And quite frankly, after we found out about Anella, we didn't do that with either of our children. Right. For us, it was just a matter of it would have made no difference anyway. We were so freaking excited to be pregnant, we couldn't see straight. When I was 7 months pregnant, my husband was diagnosed with testicular cancer. And it was, obviously it was a shock. And I remember there was a beautiful doctor in the area, Dr. Hevel, who I will forever love, because I remember, actually I found out about Tony's diagnosis first. And so then Doc and I had to tell Tony together, which was, kind of something. And, but Doc looked at me and he said, I have no idea how that baby's even in your belly. That's a miracle baby right there. Wow. Now, of course, we know nothing about Down syndrome. We don't know anything about it. And when we went to Mayo, basically, they said exactly the same thing, because that's where we went for Tony's orchectomy. And they basically said, you probably will never be able to get naturally pregnant again. It's less than whatever, a 0.1%, some ridiculous number. And we're like, okay, so... and planned accordingly. And so then I am one of the moms the pregnant ladies that nobody likes, because I have never felt better than when I was pregnant. I mean, I felt so good. That's awesome. I have friends who are like, we hate you. Like, where was the morning sickness? No morning sickness. I was like, fantastic. Earth mom is what I, thought I would. Oh, yeah. And I was going to granola it out all the way. No drugs for me. Thank you. None of that nonsense. Earth mother, Zoom, channel my inner. Oh, yeah. I was so obnoxious. So obnoxious. If you're listening to shit, please, everybody, roll your eyes. So obnoxious. Anyway, come to find out, I'm one of the women who would have died on the wagon train if I would have been granola all the way. I am not. That is not me.
Nah.
So anyway, the morning that I woke up with Elliot, my water had broken. So we went in the hospital, and man, I can labor beautifully. I got that down. We flooded a whole hospital room. It was amazing. Over 16 hours later, the baby still hadn't come out. It was not, and I wasn't moving. Nothing was opening like it should. So my body does not work. Like I said, wagon train, I would be the dead one. So thank you, God, for modern medicine. Yeah, thank you so much. And about 2:30 in the morning, they came in and said, we could give you some medicine to kind of stop this labor thing, or we could do a C-section. Winner, chicken dinner. Thank you very much. We will go on ahead and take the C-section at 2:30 in the morning. Anyway, Elliot popped out. We did the C-section. Tony was with me. That was a whole funny story, because they don't like the guys to be in when they do the epidural. And I'm a hospital phobe. So I am fighting with the nurse, no, my husband, I'm not going anywhere in this hospital without my husband. And anyway, actually the anesthesiologist was really cool, because I'm like, he was an EMT, he was a firefighter, he doesn't need to not, he's not going to pass out from a needle, because evidently there's a lot of guys who pass out over the needle, and so they don't. So they're trying to give the wife the stuff, and then the dude's over there needing medical attention.
Is that the needle they put in the back?
Yeah. And evidently there's a whole bunch of them who just boom. So they didn't want, but
really?
Yeah. So anyway,
interesting.
Anesthesiologist came in and he said, he's fine, he's good, he's going in with her, you know what I mean? She's been through enough.
And he passed out.
No. So anyway, they get the baby, they get the baby out of my belly. They hold Elliot up and they're like, here you go. And I'm like, oh, of course now I'm like, I can't go anywhere, And they're like, oh, Mr. Doherty, would you like to come around and see your son? So he goes boop, 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 around to go see. And they got all my guts in the bucket. They got all the stuff. I'm wide open. He's like, really? Y'all were worried about the needle, and I've now seen my wife inside and out. So anyway, he went and hung out with Elliot, and I laid there on the flipping table for what felt like hours by myself, getting, kind of my insides put back in. And Elliot got an APGAR of 9.5 at birth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so everything proceeded beautifully. We called my parents, I think about 4 in the morning, 4:30, you know what I mean? And woke them up, and they came in, and for the first... till probably about 10 a.m., if I recall correctly, everything was as you would think it should be. Now you can look back and see some pictures of that, because I'm kind of got a little bit darker skin tone. And we kind of assumed with Elliot that was he just had kind of my skin tone. And it wasn't. He was kind of being deprived of oxygen. Woohoo! You know, I mean, like, you know, you get a little dusky skin tone. That, and there were different ways that you would hold them. And so, anyway, we had Tony. We'd put him in the bassinet for a little bit after, you know, all the grandparents and everybody was in the room. And Tony was like, I don't like his color. I'm like, Tony, they just came in and checked, and they had just come in and checked. He's like, they said he was fine. So Tony, when he gets in I mean, he was a Mr. EMT firefighter, so he goes back out, and he's like, I want you to come check. And the one nurse was like, you know, I just was in there checking. And he's like, I don't care. Come check again. Yeah. And one of my friends actually was in charge of labor and delivery. Like, she had just come, shift change. Yeah. She's now a nurse practitioner in the area. And she said, oh, Tony, I want to come see the baby anyway. Well, and she got into the room, and I was busy talking, so I didn't notice this. She picked Elliot up out of the bassinet and walked out of the room with him. Oh. Tony remembered from our pregnancy classes that we'd taken, if they pick the baby up out of the bassinet, that means the baby is in immediate need. Like there is an immediate need to get this child assistance. Because in the hospital, they roll them in the bassinets. They do not pick them up. I mean, I'm sure it's dropping, tripping, all those different things. Yeah. Right. But if they pick the baby up out of the bassinet. So Tony followed after my friend. And the next thing I knew, he came in, and they said, they think it's its heart. No, they think it's his lungs. They don't know what it is. They just said, we got to get out of here. And I'm like, and of course I did the really responsible, mature thing. And I'm like, everybody out of my room. I mean, I kicked everybody out. I mean, everybody. I wasn't even nice about it. I didn't say, excuse me, can you please leave my room? I'm like, get out of my room.
But did you even know anything was up at that point? No, I didn't think you did.
No, I went from celebrating my baby to, you know, my husband coming in, of course, and Tony, you know, God love him. But I'm just like, what in the... And they're like, well, we got to fly him. And I'm like, what is going, can we go with them? And they're like, no, parents, and this is something a lot of people know, you can't fly with them unless they think the child is going to die. Oh, wow. So like, if they actually let you fly with them, then you are really in trouble.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so what they did do, though, which is really fascinating, is they brought in a towel that had Cardinal Glennon as the hospital they ended, because we didn't know if we were going to Columbia, children, but Cardinal Glennon had a... And so anyway, they brought in a towel, and they had me rub it everywhere, especially in your sweaty spots, like your armpits. And because there's this whole thing on infant smell and like mothers, and like it helps them. It helps them. Their survival rates increase with this. So it's something they do when they put them in. And anyway, it was something. So Tony went with Elliot that night, and then my mom stayed with me, and actually so a couple of my girlfriends came, and they were so funny because I was like, I'm going, and my doctor was like, I will be in at 6 a.m. if you stay. Like, we just cut you open. Like, you know what I mean? You haven't, like, can you please just stay until 6 a.m.? And then I'm like, and then I will release you. You can go directly from there to Cardinal Glennon. And so I agreed. And she's like, you know, you have to eat, and you have to have, you know, movements and all that kind of stuff. And my friends were fantastic. They flushed the food down this toilet, and they lied to every single nurse in the hospital. It was fantastic. It was great.
That's amazing.
Anyway, when we come back, we will go into a little bit more. We'll go into diagnosis, and we will talk about how to this day we'll always celebrate Elliot's birthday. For now, this is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. Be right back. Good Sunday morning. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. I'm Kate Doherty with the Radical Ryan, with the Practically Perfect Penny. Lovely Laura is not here. And today is Elliot's birthday.
Yay!
Big time.
Happy birthday, Elliot.
Big time stuff.
And we're sharing kind of his birth story in the hopes that perhaps one of these days it will help someone else who goes through a similar situation. At this point, Elliot's down at Cardinal Glennon. Tony's with him. Raced down on my way, pumping the whole way, probably emotionally scarring my dad for life. But it was good. Anyway, we get down there, and I'm like, I'm Elliot's mom, let me in. And to this day, at any medical appointment, I'm not Kate, I'm Elliot's mom.
That's neat.
And anyway, we got there and we leave the grandparents in, and Tony goes and talks with me, takes me to this little balcony. He says, hon, he said, they think he may have Down syndrome. And I said, oh, they said that he has a heart defect called AV canal, so they're going to have to do an open heart surgery. And I said, well, is he going to be able to be okay? You know what I mean? Is he going to have quality of life? Like what, what's going to, and he said, yeah, he said, they said they can fix the repair and like that he's going to be okay, and I'm like, awesome. And I said, well, on Down syndrome, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know anything about that. And I feel like God really placed us where we needed to be at this point in time. Because we had an absolutely amazing neonatologist. And that was a question. I'm like, what is it? Like, I truly I had met exactly one person with Down syndrome. I mean, gotcha. I'd been around other people with other, extraordinary needs, but I had never been around somebody with Down. I mean, one person. And that's even after teaching, you know what I mean? Like so he said, well, it's just an extra chromosome. And he said, there's 3 types.
Is he the doctor? Or?
The doctor, the neonatologist. Okay. And he said, anything you or I may or may not have, somebody with Down syndrome may or may not have. It literally is an extra chromosome. And I'm like, give me an example. And he's like, well, and there's some things we know they have a higher propensity for. And I'm like, well, like what? And he said, well, like vision problems. I'm like, I'm legally blind without my contacts in. He wears glasses. He goes, well, more than likely he'll have to wear glasses. Like, oh. He's like, I'm like, well, what? Like, so it's truly more alike than different. I mean, it's not a disease. Does that make sense? Like, it's not, you can't catch it. You know what I mean? There's no, like, it's not like that. Like, people are like, oh, does this go? Well, all Down syndrome truly is an extra chromosome. Yeah. And, you may have some speech issues. You may not have speech issues. You may have gastrointestinal issues. You may not. We know there are some things. Like, for example, Elliot, about 50 to 70% have some form of a heart defect. So that's not all. It's really interesting. Some have gastrointestinal issues. Down syndrome itself has been reclassified as an autoimmune. There's a lot of autoimmune stuff with skin, different pieces. Cancer's interesting. Some children with Down syndrome can get leukemia or testicular cancer. However, their cure rates are also higher than what the typical population is. And as far as soft tissue cancers, they predominantly just don't get it. MIT did a study of skin cells for people with Down syndrome, and it can slow or stop the growth of cancer cells. It's really fascinating research. We do know a ton more about Alzheimer's because of people with Down syndrome, because there's a really high prevalence of Alzheimer's within the population of people with Down syndrome. And so, like, Elliot's neurologist at Mayo believes that since they finally opened up the research into people with Down syndrome, that they'll find out information on Alzheimer's. But
fascinating.
Backing up to the day that Elliot was born, well, and 70% of them develop celiac, which is fascinating and can benefit from a gluten-free diet, which is another really unique thing. Anyway, but at that time, we don't know any of these things. And so, I'm knowing what I know now, I'm like, why was I even worried? But because at the time, it's a doctor's job. We were lucky with the neonatologist. Thank you, God. We had an amazing cardiologist and surgeon that were phenomenal. And when Tony asked the cardiologist, who happened to be rounding the very night he came in, what's this mean? What's it mean with his heart and Down syndrome and all that? And the doctor looked at Tony and he said, it means I'm going to fix that heart. He said, and you're going to have a beautiful, healthy, happy little boy, and you're going to take him home and you're going to love him up big time. And if you can't do it, then I am.
And I love that. I think that's one of my most favorite things I've really heard in this story is, just that confidence that the doctor had in Elliot, in himself, in you guys, and just
and that we found out later
he's a lovable kiddo.
We found out later, though, that his brother-in-law had Down syndrome. And this is one of the things that I think, that's cool. If you get to meet people with Down syndrome, you are no longer scared. And you're like, oh, no. Like, best piece of my life.
Right.
But, when they're born, nobody tells you these things. And even like the social worker, I have told the social worker story. I mean, that social worker walked into my room. I'm finally getting to breastfeed and hold my baby boy. And she apologized to me. And I looked at her and I'm like, what are you apologizing for? She's like, hasn't anybody been in to talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, lots of people have been in here. I mean, at that point, my modesty's out the window because, I mean, like I've been poked, prodded. So has Elliot. And I'm like, what are you talking? She's like, well, your son has Down syndrome. And I'm like, I know. And she's like, well, that's why I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, I'm not. So get out. We were not going to be a good fit.
No.
I mean, seriously, we're not.
No.
And I mean, I was trying to learn and research. And I mean, at this point in time, it wasn't Google. I mean, like, it wasn't like, so, this wonderful nurse is bringing me millions of pieces of paper, and I'm trying to learn. And honestly, most of the information was bad information. And still, like, even if you go on Google, some of the information out there is really bad information. It's so important people learn to check their sources because people with Down syndrome now live average lifespans. You know what I mean? At that stuff when I first, it was saying he was going to die at 13. I mean, and anyway, like, I feel like the difference between what you're presented when they're born, for the most part, is like almost like this doom and gloom story. And like, good luck with your life after this, you know?
Right.
And it's so wrong.
Right.
It's so wrong. And I realize that for some people, maybe they do have a child where, you know what I mean? There are multiple other complications that they view their position, their world differently. But if you're talking just rocking an extra chromosome, I am here to tell you what they didn't tell me is like I had no idea. There's so much good stuff. Elliot has taught our family more in his 17 years than we will ever in 1,000,001 years be able to teach him. Period.
Cool.
That's cool.
I mean, and I have said this on the show before about, like everybody always asks me, how is Elliot? Elliot is freaking fine.
Have you not heard him, seen him? He's zipping around. He's awesome.
And I want to be clear, like there were so many weird things that happened. Like I remember leaving the hospital and nobody had sent balloons or teddy bears or any of those things. And I remember talking to my best friend because you're a little bit emotional. You're past, and I'm like sobbing to her like, we can't. There's been no teddy bears, no balloons, no. What's going on? I'm so happy to have this baby, and I was so mad. So at that time, we're loading the kid in the car seat to come home from Cardinal Glen, and she's got exactly 2 hours to get her junk together. So, I mean, my God, we pulled in our driveway and there's signs, there's balloons. And it is something. If you have someone whose baby is sent to the hospital, you can still, and you can say, oh, it's a significant, it is a significant issue. And you still can send a card that says, we are praying you home, baby. You know what I mean? Like, or we are sending all of our love. You know what I mean? Like, you can still do that. And I'm here to tell you, it'll be so appreciated. Don't be scared to do that. I mean, on the reverse side of it, I got a sympathy card after Elliot was born. A sympathy card. With all due respect, you send sympathy cards when a child is dead, not when a child has Down syndrome. Like, that is so beyond not okay. And the thing is, I know the people. I know they're nice people. I know they didn't mean it to be offensive. But for the remainder of my life, I will think about that bloomin' sympathy card I got when my beautiful son was born. And I mean, did it light my fire? Yeah, those things lit my fire. Was I aware at that time, because I had been in the schools, what was available? I was. And I knew that there needed to be something different. Because one of the things that people do with children with Down syndrome is they want to help. And I always think about my friend who had the stroke, who lost his vision. And he and his wife moved out of the area, and they moved out of the area because he said all the help the people here in this area want to give me is going to kill me, because they were doing things like grabbing his arm while he was trying to cross the street, because how can a blind man cross the street? He can cross the street just fine. Like,
That's interesting.
but when you grab people and they can't see you, like, you can cause them to trip up and have reactions. And so it was interesting. Elliot to this day would be very happy to let you wait on him hand and foot, if that's what you so chose. I have zero desire to wait on Elliot hand and foot. So he's going to have to get his own orange juice, and he's going to make his own pizza, and he's got to do those things. And it was really interesting, though, because even when he was really little, people would say to me, you don't really expect him to do whatever XYZ household chores, put things in. Yes, I do. And I think that's one of the things that I'd say to anybody out there. The greatest disability children with Down syndrome face is the low expectations of the people around them.
Right. It's assume they can do it versus assume they can't do it. And also, don't you think, you mentioned Elliot would be more than happy for you to bring him his glass of water and stuff like that. But isn't that probably typical of most everybody, and especially kids at that age? So it's, once again, as you were talking about earlier in the other segment, that, what he has is very similar to what other people have. There's more similarities than there is a difference. He just happens to have an extra chromosome, but he still is and does things like every other typical kiddo.
Yeah, it's called a global developmental delay. Right. So if you have a child with Down syndrome and there's no other buying factor, they're learning. Now, there may be a gap somewhere, maybe they aren't good at math, or maybe they aren't good at, but they're learning and growing and developing at a pace here. Just basically the way I tell most people, like kind of in common language, is if their age is 17, think they're about 15, about 2 years, kind of just a leg. So, and there are things that you can do. You can, delay going to kindergarten, or you can, what I mean? Like put them in a 3-year-old preschool when they're 4, or a 4-year-old preschool when they're 5. They start kindergarten when there's no reason that you can't begin your interventions and kind of help them be at more pace. Elliot, quite frankly, could be a senior this year. He's going to be a sophomore. Why did we do that? Because global developmental delay. He's a sophomore. He's not a senior. He would not be ready to be into his senior year on any level known to mankind. And so I think those things are really important if you want them to be able to lead a fully actualized life. And for me, and for my husband, it was always independence was the holy grail. That was our everything. And that's not always easy. Because if you allow independence, it's no different than with your typical children. Right, exactly. When you allow independence, what do kids do?
They flourish.
Well, they flirt, but then they also make mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, that too.
They screw up.
Well, that's flourishing.
And with all due respect, I can't tell you there haven't been times when Elliot has done something that I haven't been like, oh my God, what did he? So a couple years ago, we decided to let him try and run cross country. I'll finish the story and then because you're gonna really like this sign off. So we decided to let him run cross country. And he wanted to do it. We didn't make him do it. He wanted to do it. But we have a rule in our house, like if you start it, you got to finish it, right? He was not a fan. Not a fan. He would take off like a jet, like Speedy Gonzalez, straight on out of the gate. Well, cross country is not about, like, it is a long distance.
Pace yourself.
So we were at this cross country meet, and he's in his final lap, and he is dragging. He looks horrible. And it's, oh my gosh, he's like coming in dead last. Tony and I are standing there, and this kid comes up. He's standing alongside, like, go, Elliot, you can do it. My son flipped him the bird. Biggest day in front of God and everybody. He flipped him the bird, and I was just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, we are so going to be hearing about this. And you know what? We sure enough did. And although the ultimate irony and punishment, do you know what you have to do if you flip the bird to somebody in a cross-country meet?
What are you going to do?
You don't get to participate in the next cross-country meet.
That worked in his favor.
Well, luckily in this case, he had a mom who said, you aren't participating in it, but you're running the same distance anyway, because we don't do those things. Again, he was still held accountable, but I was like, that's really not much of punishment, but we'll go from there. Anyway, for now, this is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. Good Sunday morning. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. Yep. And on this show this morning, we're celebrating Elliot's birthday.
That's right.
And and it's a heck of a birthday. It's 17 this year. I guess next year he's officially a grown adult. I'm not sure how that happened.
I don't know. You look at him, he looks like a grown adult. It's
a fair point, actually.
Yeah, he's actually not this little boy anymore.
Oh, no, I know he's not.
Probably wouldn't tell him that he's going to be a grown adult because then, like you said, you'll hear the whole 18 for a year and also hear, I'm going to be a grown adult next year.
No, I can't even fathom.
Yeah, nah.
So, anyway, okay, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so, one of the things that I want to say that nobody did tell me that, like, I did not realize there's a dance gene that goes along with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
A dance, for clarification.
Dance.
Yeah.
There is a love of music that seems to be, to date, in almost every single human with Down syndrome I've ever met.
Really?
There is an absolute love of music, and I would say 95% of them love to shake their moneymakers as well. It's the most unbelievable, fantastic thing I've ever seen. And, Willie Nelson said, like music is a universal language. Mm-hmm. And I truly do believe that because even if you're talking about some nonverbal individual with Down syndrome, it is amazing to watch how music will get their bodies moving, they're going. One of the things that if ever you get a chance to do, I would highly recommend is traveling with Elliot. Because it is the most phenomenal experience I get. And one of the things that is his particular gift, and it's his birthday, so I can talk about his gift. And again, here's the deal. People with Down syndrome are all different. So, hey, anybody who tells you there aren't jerks who have Down syndrome, they are wrong. They're jerks. And you know what? Like, if you get a jerk with Down syndrome, just kind of look around and you'll see other jerks around them because, they are more alike than different.
Yeah.
However, in Elliot's case, one of the things that I find so fascinating when I travel with him is he introduces himself to everyone. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I mean, he's just everybody introduced himself to. But then what he does, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like if you were in sales or marketing, I'm like, this is what you need to do. He asks the follow-up questions. Like he'll say like, hi, what's your name? Mm-hmm. I'm Elliot. And then, you'll be like, hey, I'm Ryan. And then he's like, how old are you? You're married? You know what I mean? Like, you got kids? You know what I mean? Like, you like baseball. Mm-hmm. Do you like, and it's really interesting because I've been in New York. I've been on subway trains. People suddenly, like, because they can tell he actually cares. And then when they answer, he actually listens. Mm-hmm. And then he does this follow-up question thing. Mm-hmm. And it is the most amazing thing that I have ever seen. Hmm. And I'm like, that is a gift. Mm-hmm. Because pretty soon what you'll see, like, there was one day, it was 2 a.m., flights have been delayed. I mean, you could tell everybody on this tram is just get me to the car. We're done. Everybody's done. And he's talking to this kid, and everybody's kind of like listening to him. And then the kid starts, it's a 23-year-old. I say kid. Everybody's a kid to me at this point. And he's like, so wait, you're going to school? Oh, Colorado, you go to school? Oh, what you going to do there? And he's like, well, I'm going to play, da-da-da. And they start, and then pretty soon, you could just watch visibly almost everybody around who is listening to this, just very innocent. Shoulders were relaxing. Like, people were leaning back in their seats. They just kind of, really cool. It really is. And it happens all the time. Really? All the time. It is fun to be with him and watch him work a crowd. I've had people say, do you know where Elliot is? No, I don't have a clue. He's fine. He is absolutely fine. Mm-hmm. We just got back from his sister's wedding. He made friends with half the hotel. And it was, I mean, like, he's got it all. I'm like, where in the hell did that Shirley Temple come from? And he's like, well, you know, I ordered it. And I'm like, well, I can't wait to see that on Papa's room bill. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it has been the greatest privilege of my life, raising all 3 of my children. But Paul Gianni, that's Nancy Gigi's Playhouse, he said, you know, one of the things he said when Gigi was born is just think, Nancy, how much better this little girl is going to make our family and our children. And I will say that because there are times that you have to slow down. Mm-hmm. You have to question. Sometimes you have to speed up. You have to question what you think you know. You do sometimes have to do things differently. You become a more fuller, more well-rounded human. And I don't think without an Elliot that I would like who I would be nearly as much as I do now. Mm-hmm. He taught me so many things. It has taught me so many things about letting go, about what really matters, what really doesn't matter. And I mean, if I live to be 100, I will never be able to repay the lessons and the blessings that he's given me. Mm-hmm. Because I do believe he's made all of us more empathetic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in both of his sisters' case, he's made them tolerate absolutely zero BS on their part. Like, no, we aren't getting your orange juice. Get your own blooming orange juice. Yeah. You can do it. Mm-hmm. And so it's neat, though. And I don't think we have a family. They're part of our new Baby First family where we've made a commitment that we're going to get our families to the major medical information that they need, and so they can come back and bring it here. And you know, when they're little, and you're in that first 4 years, you know what I mean? 8 years. You know, you're so worried. Mm-hmm. Because you're worried you're going to screw up as a parent. You're worried that, you know, am I doing everything that I need to? And you're worried, are they going to be able to make it? You know, are we going to be able to navigate these things? And then suddenly, like, this new normal cooks in. Mm-hmm. And I realize some people really hate that phrase, the new normal. Well, you know what? New normals occur all the time. They're occurring in your life, Ryan. It's just a change, or let's call it a change in season. Mm-hmm. I mean, suddenly then your season changes and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, well, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you begin, if you're open to the journey, it's an awesome ride. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here on his 17th birthday, trying to figure out how that happened so fast. And also just so incredibly grateful for all the people that this little guy's brought into our life and our world and how he's expanded our community. Well,
I think too, and like getting to know him as well and others, I've always found it fascinating, like how they wear their emotions on their sleeve.
Well, and the forgiveness fact. Right. I mean, like, they may get mad. And, you know, or mad or sad or whatever it is. But I will say the ability to move past that is amazing. I mean, the rest of us hold grudges or this, that, and the other. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could get Elliot, be like, young man, you are in so much trouble. You sit down. You know what I mean? Boom. And then he'll come up and be like, I love you, Mom. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? I'm like, boy, that was, and proceed like there's no, I've probably had to apologize more to him than he's had to apologize to me, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, true story.
Well, and I just think too, like the love factor too, like you see it with him and with others that like the way they love people.
If they like you, it's unconditional. I mean, like it is unconditional.
Point,
it's a done, and there's nothing that you can ever do.
And that's where I think the piece that you said when he's able to talk to other individuals and do it so easily. I mean, and like you mixed that with the love side of it, with all of it, like they are a version of us that I think we all wish we were. Yeah.
Or so we lost, or we
whatever the case.
We misplaced it. So last night we're around my kitchen counter, and 3 years ago we went with my family to a place for Easter, that whole family gathering, and this gentleman name is John John. I have him at phone as Gene Sandbar because, that's where. Yeah. Anyway, so last night at the kitchen counter, all of a sudden, Elliot comes in. Mom, FaceTiming. It's Gene in Florida. The bartender, you know what I mean, that Elliot made friends with, made massive Shirley Temples. And he and Elliot FaceTime once a week on Sundays after church. And they talk about God and baseball and this. Sam is a driver that we have when we went out to Boston when he did his hypoglossal. They FaceTime about once a week. I never know randomly who Elliot's going to pull up. There's a gentleman who is a retired New York City firefighter. Elliot and he talk, once a week. I mean, he's got like a little weekly routine of people that he FaceTimes with. Wow. And now he calls my mother and his Mimi every single day. Mm-hmm. Every single day. He calls Gigi and Mimi every day, bar none, period, point blank. Like, that is absolutely something that he does. And we have a rule, he's only supposed to call once. Now, he can break the rule with Gigi and Mimi, but everybody else he can only call once. And I'm just amazed. Like,
but you also, for clarification, you also know these people.
I do know these people. Yes.
It's different than social media issues that parents struggle with.
No. He's FaceTiming no different than if you and I picked up the phone and called.
Right. Well, and I also think he's a reflection of you and Tony, too. I mean, I think that you guys both have that very outgoing personality. So he knows he can have that, too. I mean, he's been given that. And I think that he just has such an innocence about it that he's not guarded. I think we were talking earlier about just like being guarded. He's not guarded with it, But he's also a product of you and Tony. You and Tony know everybody on God's green earth, So I think he's just a product of you guys, which is amazing. Yep. But I think the moral of your story is
actually I think we're a product of him.
That's a good point.
I mean, I'm just going to say I do think because vast majority of people who Tony and I have met have, quite frankly, been because of this little boy and the lessons and blessings that he's given our family. That's it's very true. I mean, now granted, my parents know 1,000,001 people, but I would say that we are the way we are because of the blessing that we got in the gift of Elliot.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So happy birthday, baby boy.
Happy birthday, Elliot.
You are so loved. And I hope the Cardinals win today because we are going to the baseball game. Go Cards! Whoop, whoop. For now, this is #everyone talking about #everything. Y'all have a blessed Sunday.